Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and here's Mike Jones too. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Dale.
Hey,
Um,
we were just talking about economic development, and what can possibly be the future for Josephine County. I want to make it clear because I obviously have not made this clear. I believe in economic development where it takes us. Personally, I believe that. I don't think that the people out there that are involved in the timber industry in Josephine County are doing anything wrong now and probably not for a generation. There may be people that disagree with that. That's what I think. I think that we've had a past where in this county, in this area of the world, where we were able to do pretty much what we wanted with trees, heedless of the potential impact on this community, other communities, the nature, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that we're doing that now. And so,
certainly we're not doing it now. And the reason why we're not doing it now is because we can't do anything. I think that, I've spoken to some of the people who work for local timber companies when I was on the timber committee with SOS.
right.
And we talked about, responsible, stewardship of the forest. And a lot of these guys, they know a lot. I mean, they're very knowledgeable about the ecology there, and they understand how it works. And none of the people that I spoke to want to go in there and rape the forest so that we're losing, all the soil down to the river or something. This is not.
I agree, and I don't think that's what they're in it for. And everybody from both ends of the spectrum, from Orville Kemp to Simon Hare, have said basically that there are responsible ways to deal with the timber, to deal with
Right,
the
but
forest.
the issue, the point I'm making is that um, some would have you believe that now we are at sustainable and we can never expand beyond this because this is the only thing that's sustainable. Beyond it is not, and it just isn't true from the information that I've seen, that you can harvest a lot more timber than what they're doing now, and you can do it responsibly and provide, I think, almost instantaneously like 11,000 jobs in the state by allowing that to happen. So we can either do that or let it burn up in fires or whatever. I don't think that, when I say that I think that more can be done, I'm saying more than what is done right now and what they call sustainable.
I don't think you've ever heard me disagree with that. I mean, this is what Vic Harris tells us, who's the forestry guy for the county. He says that if we, his point of view is that if you harvest this over here and then harvest this and let that alone, then harvest this and let those alone, and then over that,
Right.
you can have a forever crop of trees, timber, and then go back and start over again with that, especially if you manage the undergrowth and those kinds of things. I
Right.
think Orville Camp might disagree with that on
I'm
points,
sure he
and
would.
and he might even say, "Hey, look, you got the whole thing wrong from the beginning." He often does to me when I say those kinds of things, but I believe that most of the residents in this area find that they don't want to cut everything. They don't want to be ridiculous about it, but they want to see that there are jobs created from this, and that this natural resource is utilizable, can be
Yeah.
used.
Right. And
I
I
agree.
say with that and marijuana and, minerals and whatever else is out there in the hopper. I'm just saying, I wish that, as a policy going forward, that we would think about allowing some of these other things and fighting back against people who want to stop us from doing that. And I think proper management of our natural resources in this county, or anywhere for that matter, is just common sense. And you want, we're not harvesting timber so that we can have a paycheck on Friday and then forgetting about next week or the next generation that's coming down the line. Like you said, if you switch, if you're harvesting in different places, as opposed to a clear-cut situation, I think we've all learned the lesson on that, I hope.
Yes, I think that we've all learned a lesson on that. That's right. Yes. Exactly right. I don't want it to be coming across as if I'm saying something that's, radically different than that. I don't feel that way. I can really understand what people are saying when they say everything that you have came from the ground somehow. I mean, the metals that you have and things, plastics have an origin in oil. The wood that's probably surrounding you, unless you live in a plastic house, all of these things, they come from natural resources. Is it okay to use natural resources? There are people who feel it's not okay to use natural resources. I'm not one of those people. Now, I think it makes sense to, and let me tell you how far out there, because I am far out there on something. Okay, so I don't mind saying that. I had a conversation with some fellows at SORA, Southern Oregon Resource Alliance, and I said, "Gee, isn't it too bad? Coming from a science background, isn't it too bad that we can't at the moment politically use solar energy? Yes, isn't it too bad? But that has to be sustained by the government because it's not paying for itself. Oh, yes, it is. No, it's not." Okay. Yeah. Isn't it too bad that we cannot use atomic energy? Isn't
absolutely.
It too bad that we cannot do that? There's a reason that we can't do that, and most of it had to do with greed and stupidity. Okay, but they do in countries like France. Okay, I'm not saying France is the perfect.
No, but they clearly, when they set up their nuclear power plants, they did it correctly because they're still using them and have been using them for 35, 40 years now.
Yes, right? As opposed to people who also did it, the Japanese, and they kind of screwed up on some of this because they did some of it wrong. Okay,
yes, so they put it right on the edge of the ocean there. That's unfortunate.
It's a perfect example of how things can be done. So my radical Dale Matthews, I said to SORA, look, if you really want to be able to make that work into the future, what you do is you make an agreement with Greenpeace, we're never going to win that. I say, hey, look, they're American citizens. You make a deal with them. They'll never do this, and nobody will ever make a deal, and nobody will ever do anything. I know it's all, let's just give up and slit our wrists now. Okay, I understand that. Okay, so the idea is that you say to them, we're going to have this atomic energy, and you guys are going to make sure that it's safe in effect. Is there anybody who would run a safer nuclear power plant than Greenpeace? That's heresy. You cannot say that. Well, no, I don't think that there would be anybody cleaner than they would.
I think you have some illusions about Greenpeace.
Yes.
Their motives have nothing to do with the cleanliness of the environment at all. They're pushing certain things, but the whole point behind that is political. Listen, Gorbachev said after the fall of the Soviet Union that the new communism is green, and that's what the future of moving towards socialism and communism was all going to be based in, and it's absolutely true.
I think for him to say that is just as bad as for some people to say everyone interested in harvesting trees wants to rape the land. That's not true.
Okay, listen, there are some people, and these are the useful idiots in this particular crowd, that are interested and think it's actually about the environment when it isn't. Okay, let's take global warming, for instance. If people have, hysterical predictions about the future of climate change and what's going to happen as a result of climate change. Okay, that's very interesting. What's always their solution to it? You have to implement socialism, or flat out communism. You have to destroy the economy in order to make that thing work. In other words, we can't use, we have to use nothing but alternative energy now. And alternative energy has been being pushed right now in this country for years, and it's a disaster.
Is there anything
never
useful
works.
that we can learn from any of these things? Can we possibly take out some of the best parts of these things and use them? That's all that I'm saying. I'm not saying we all got to wear blue berets and use euros. I'm saying, is there something that we can gain from some of the knowledge? And is there a way that we can say nicely to the people who say, well, let's all become communists, that they kind of, put them over and say, okay, here's some of the things that we can use from this kind of thinking?
Yes, and you know what? I agree with that. You don't, as Dale has noted before, you don't build a nuclear power plant on a fault line.
Right.
And that's been done before. It seems inconceivable, but it really it was done.
I'm using Greenpeace as the example, similar to how some people would say, well, anytime the United States gets involved in a war, it's always for altruistic means. No, it's not. Not always. I mean, there are a lot of people who fight those wars who might be going in and saying, I'm going to defend my country. I believe in them and I'm with them. And my dad did that. But the idea that that's the only reason we get involved, come on.
Well, and there's
not true.
Dale, that's a perfect analogy, because when you talk about the aims of the people in control of these circumstances as opposed to the foot soldiers, two different things. And it's same thing when it comes to Greenpeace. There's a radical left agenda at the leadership level. So listen, I agree, but here's how you would have to tell them that. You would have to say, we are going to do this, and we're going to put you in charge of safety. It has to happen on this timeline, and it has to actually happen. You can't stop it from happening. This is not what your function here is. Your function is to make sure that this is done safely and cleanly. That is your job description here. And if you don't do it, then we'll take you out and we'll put somebody else in there.
Well, isn't it similar to what we do at county commissioners meetings? We say, you've said it too, we would like them to obey the law and to be thinking about actual economic development in this area and respecting people. Now, where they might be smart, I don't think they are, but where they might be smart, if they said, you know what, you've got some good ideas and some stupid ideas, Dale Matthews and Mike Jones. Okay. Right. Now, what we'd like you to do is we'd like you to check the stupid ideas
I can't
at the
see
door.
The first part of that sentence happening, but I'm looking forward to that'd be great.
And work together with us. You tell us when we're breaking the law. I think they should know, and I think they do know, but you tell us when we're breaking the law, and then we won't do that anymore. Okay. And then stop bashing us about it, because we're gonna stop doing it. Okay.
That's a perfect compromise. Why they haven't come to you on that, I have no idea.
Wouldn't everybody be better?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they would. You could say, hey, listen, I think that you guys are breaking the law on this. And they could say, Wally, are we breaking the law on this? You go, uh-huh. And then, case closed. Okay. All right. Hey, thanks for your input there. Because listen, we're all fallible. It's not that at some point, we're not all capable of breaking the law. I'm sure we all do every day.
Absolutely. Come on, just jaywalking. Absolutely.
Yes, that's
Parking
right.
in the wrong spot. Come on. Of course. Right. I don't mean a handicap spot, but I mean, yeah, of course.
So, and I understand that they're a little, bare in that department, because Dale has had sandpaper in his hand and he's rubbing on them all the time like this.
Well, but Wally Hicks is telling them, he said to them, don't do this. Okay. And then they do it. And I go and I see him. I say, they're doing it. And he says, yeah. And then he says, now don't do this. And then they do it. Well, it's not that they can't remember. They just don't want to obey the law. Keith Hicks said it. I know we're breaking the law and I don't care. Yeah. Now, so there are ways that, I got up at the very last, just less than a week ago, and I said, you've run into a little problem with, I said it very nicely, with John McCafferty, head of the IT department. He doesn't want his people to be pushing the buttons just left, right, left, right. He doesn't want them to do that for the weekly business session for the television cameras. He'd like the secretarial staff to do it. And they said, we don't want to do that. Keith X said, well, I could do it. A commissioner, while they're running, he's going to switch the show
silly.
because it's so simple. So I got up and I said, look, I'm paraphrasing. I said it nicer than this. I was very nice. I said, we've done this most of our lives. We'd be delighted to volunteer. It fits within your goals of volunteerism. It fits within your goals of saving money. It fits within your goals of using high technology. I'm here anyway. Even if Mike can't always be there, I'm always there. Well, he can't. You can't. Yes. And I point the camera at you, and I point the camera at them. I know who's talking. I have to know, or the camera's pointed in the wrong direction, and all I have to do is do this. And it's super, super, super simple. You think that they said yes or no or even looked up? No. There's going to be no compromise. They're not interested in saving money. Are you crazy? They're not interested in volunteerism. What, are you nuts? They're not interested in getting the job done right. No.
You know what? Listen, I have to think about Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill. I mean, these two guys were they were the opposite ends of the political spectrum, but they were actually friends.
Yes.
They got along together and they could go and talk to one another and hash stuff out, and so why it is the commissioners can't see that yet again, here is the perfect opportunity to have Dale not in front of your face.
All they would need to do is just be polite enough as county commissioners, as public servants, to look up at me when I'm talking.
Yeah, you know what? This is a bizarre thing, because I saw, and this, I guess it happens everywhere. I discovered it, where I was living before, that this is, when they disagree with you, they don't even look up for the most part. And I saw a thing the other day. It was Jesse Waters. It's a guy who does little bits on Bill O'Reilly's television program, and he was speaking before the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, which is the same thing, by the way, as our Board of Commissioners, and same thing. They wouldn't even look at him. And we experience that on a weekly basis. Anytime somebody comes up that they don't know, they look, yeah, yeah, that's great. Anytime it's somebody who they have disagreed with in the past, even if they're saying something that is perfectly innocuous at this point today, doesn't matter. They will not look you in the eye. They don't look at you.
Here is someone offering to work together with them. Working together with them. We will give you the time.
Kumbaya.
It won't cost anyone $1. We're delighted to be cooperative and helpful. Why don't you come up with anything positive, Mr. Matthews? This is positive. Why don't you do something that's helpful to the community? Here's something helpful. They don't think that pointing out when they're breaking a law is helpful. Well, it's not helpful to them, but our viewers want to know about it. So here's all this, and I was real low key about it. I wasn't in a tirade. Why? What's the matter with you guys? No, it didn't bother. Okay, and why bother now? Because they're not going to take something that's free and save tens of thousands of dollars. They would save tens of thousands. They don't want to save tens of thousands of dollars. They don't want it done right. Because
which is odd, because I'll just remind everybody, we are hanging by our fingernails, according to them, or we've hit the wall or gone off the fiscal cliff. One of these three.
We've got a new video we put out there, a very short one, where Simon Hare is talking about, and the others are agreeing with him in the little back room, that what they really need to do is they need to be sponsoring more local events so people could see that the county government is spending money, small bits of money, 500, 1,000, 1,500, on all these little events that are happening. Really? Really? First of all, how much good can that do? And second, we've got so much money that we can just go ahead and just hand it out to, you're doing an event that has to do with, dogs on parade or something. Dogs are fine. Parades are fine. But really, we're going to sponsor that. We're going to take economic development money and put it into that plaque on a rock. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah,
we're not hanging on by our. I guess we must not be hanging on by our fingertips anymore, Mike. That's it's over.
Yeah, that stuff is all pretty symbolic, and
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce is doing it, and we give all this money to the Chamber of Commerce. We do. Well, to show them that we care. To show them that we care.
Is that now? Are we talking about economic development money, or are they using general fund dollars? Oh, it's economic development money. Yeah. Well, you know what? If they were sponsoring, say, like the farmers market situation downtown,
or a job fair, yes,
or a job fair, or something.
Well, if it was real, yes, that would be helpful.
Yes. Yeah, it's something that actually just, gave a venue to people who want to do entrepreneurial type business and just let them take
logo. They look there and they see 25 logos. They want one of the logos to be the county government, that little triangle. That's all.
Yeah. And the only people that care about that are the county government people.
That's right.
Really,
so
I don't think I don't think that's. It'd be nice if we were participating in, other, the economy somehow.
Real things. Yes, right. Real things. Right. It's very much like the feel good that they get from Simon Hare coming back from being gone for 4 days and saying, well, not much happened, but I made a lot of good contacts for the county. Well, actually for myself. Come on. The Coastal Conference. Really?
Yeah. Well.
Is the federal government going to look more kindly on us if we're spending money on coastal conferences? Just stop it. Stop it.
Yeah, and I wonder, being thought of in a particular way has almost no value to the people in the county. And you're only being thought of more highly, by going to these things by other government entities, not people at large that might want to come to Grants Pass. Why don't you go somewhere and make a speech about how great Josephine County is?
Well, I'll give you my perfect example. So I volunteer as a search and rescue guy, not with one particular group, with a couple of them. And
he carries a 90-pound pack, big old pickaxe, and a dog with brandy around us. Yes, right.
To every weekly county commissioners meeting. Yes. So you get some guy shows up and he feels bad about the fact that his uniform, which is camo, camouflage, is not new and creased. Really, I would really feel much more respect for the people who have one that's totally old, worn out kind of thing, with maybe not scuffed up boots, but at least boots that look like they've been worn, and not just in some kind of like on a mannequin in a store. These are the people who are really doing it. Well, Simon Hare goes to these meetings all over the state, sometimes all over the country, and
he's our mannequin.
And he says, I feel kind of embarrassed that we're not given the same kind of money as Lane County.
Yeah, what? I feel bad that we're not supporting this scam. That, these little conferences are just sucking money out of every county. Why should we feel good about being part of that? He's
not going to say it's a scam, but what his basic point is, here we are hanging on by our fingernails, and nobody out there understands why we can't donate the same kind of money as the county that Portland's from or Salem is from. Why can't we do as much as the others? Because I go to the stop going.
Yeah. Now we just there needs to be a mindset of, hey, let's stop messing around. Let's stop spending money. Let's stop hiring people. Let's stop doing that kind of stuff and work on making this place better place for business and better place for people to live. And you don't do that by being more invasive or needing to spend more of the people's money all the time. That seems very simple to me. You would actually have to do less. I think the legislature in Texas meets once every 2 years. you know, that's the kind of government I want working for me. People say, well, wouldn't you be bummed out that people aren't getting stuff done? No, because when government gets stuff done, it's another tax, it's another law, it's another regulation on you. Why is it that we want more of that? I want gridlock, for crying out loud.
Well, you got that in some places of the country, including in Washington, D.C. I promised you on Friday that we'd talk a little bit more about this subject. So Mike and I are now going to kick it around a little bit. One of the things we talked about is, listen, if you've got, I personally think we need to replace the guys that are in there. Okay. Simon Hare's not going to go anywhere for 2 years unless he screws up again and gets caught, and then they decide to prosecute. He's going to stay there. But two of these commissioners, it may be that they don't even run. We don't know. If you've got people who want to run and nobody wants to commit at this point, what's up with this? Just say you're going to do so. Why be coy about this? If they're not talking about the following thing, then you may not want to vote for them, and you may not end up voting for anybody, that being the case. What are you going to do? This should be the number one question, in my opinion. What are you going to do about public safety? It either is an emergency or it's not an emergency. Mike, emergency or not? What do you think?
Well, if it was an emergency, and I mean, an actual emergency, don't you think we'd be hearing about it right now? But we're not hearing about it right now because now the emergency is over.
What was the emergency then? You know the answer to that. Everybody knows the answer.
Well, the emergency is that more government wants more money. That's what the emergency was. And now that the opportunity window for getting more money is gone, you never, ever hear about it. People are not talking about this right now. They're just not.
This is not a good strategy. It might be a good tactic, for a couple of weeks, but it's not a good strategy because we said that's what they were going to do. And by gosh, that's what they've done is they've just completely abandoned the whole idea of the emergency. Turned out that it was a lie.
Yeah, it proves hypocrisy. It proves that they're disingenuous.
Well, tell us when we're wrong. I mean, if you think, well, Mr. Matthews, you don't understand everything. Why? That's okay. What happened to the emergency then? I mean, any neighbors that you have? Well, it hasn't ended. Okay, then why is nobody saying it anymore? Well, the people made it clear. Yeah, they did, and they've made it clear every time. So. Well, now it's going to be more of an emergency than ever. Don't tell me that again, because you've said that every time. It's worse now than ever before.
Well, listen, and if it was worse now than ever before, where was the groundswell of citizens showing up at the ambassador saying, I don't care what you think, board. I need you to take the money out of the road dollars or the $1 million of unexpected timber money that came in, even after we had the $1 million of road dollars. And we want that put over at the sheriff's department. Do that right now, please.
Okay. So not only did
because there was no emergency in the mind of those people.
Not only did the county commissioners not do that, honestly now, sorry to be tough on you, you didn't do that, you people that are watching the show.
Right.
No, and spoke. Mike got up and spoke, but you didn't. Now, I'm not saying you must come to county commissioners meetings, and I know Mike has, tried to encourage you to take action, but you didn't do that. So it must not be an emergency, even for you when you watch the show.
Yes, that's correct. That is correct. It's a politically correct thing that you're not supposed to say that there isn't an emergency, because then somehow you're insensitive. You don't like kids. You don't like kittens. You don't like sunshine, as Dale would say. But there is a truth that people don't speak about because it isn't politically correct. And the bottom line is that people don't care enough about this situation, or they're accepting spin from the other side that says, oh no, that's not a good idea. What if we had an earthquake? What if we had a
Please.
tsunami?
Well, they never brought that up when they were pressing for it in the first place. They weren't saying let's have a levy in case there's an earthquake.
Right. Yes, because then we'll need to take a whole bunch more of our money and spend it on bridges and stuff if that happens. No, you know what? It's pretty easy to understand. And people who are watching this, people who pay attention year after year after year when one levy after the other comes up, they understand that the proponents of the levy still need the club to beat you with. So they're not going to give the club up, or they're not going to whittle it down to a smaller club. They want the club to be bigger, if anything.
We know what club they're talking about as well. Haha.
Yes, right. Yes. So, I think that's pretty well understood by most people, but
we're not getting anything done. Look, there is a need. There is a need. We do have to give some money to the sheriff. And if we're not going to come up with any solutions, then the people who are perpetuating this myth, because the sheriff even had said, well, your numbers are a myth. Well, it turns out they weren't a myth, and now he doesn't want to come on our show anymore. Even the state police have pointed out, no, you were the guys who were saying the wrong numbers. We were the guys who were saying the right numbers. And now that's there, doesn't like to come on the show. I don't want to be on the show if you're going to, say these things. Well, but it happens to be the truth. So let's be truthful, okay? Because nobody else involved in politics is just going to come right out and say things like the following. Obviously, the people of Josephine County looked at the needs of desperate children. Some of them are jerky little children. There are such things, that, let's be honest, but some of them are desperate. Their families have treated them awful, or they've gotten in trouble and they didn't really mean to. They fell in with the wrong crowd. That can happen. Comes awful close for most of us that could have fallen in with the wrong crowd. I did some things when I was a kid that were kind of stupid, okay? I try not to do those same mistakes now. They're all new mistakes. But we decided as a group that we were not going to put money into, not going to trust the commissioners with it, not enough of a priority to put money into juvenile justice center. We decided we didn't want to do that. We gave it to pets, to the little animals, but we decided not to do it for kids.
Yeah, and this is a very interesting direction that we're going here, that you actually face your, spin around, look inside your own head, and know what you actually are thinking. Not what you say on Facebook, not what you say to people on the street when they ask you about, well, don't you like the little children? Well, it's clear that sometimes you don't want to pay money to expand the services for juvenile justice here.
That's right.
And let's be honest with ourselves about that. If we don't want to do that, which clearly we don't, the only way that it's going to happen now is if they happen to pass a sales tax, whether you decide to vote for that or not. But understand the reason why government wants the sales tax is because they want more money than they're getting now, not less. And so despite, whatever you think their motives are, be honest with yourself about your own motives and understand that the other side has their motives too. And they may not exactly be as they are presenting them to you.
Well, that's not exactly going to make neither Mike nor I very popular by saying such things as sort of put you on the line as well. But this is why people say to me, well, I don't understand why you're now that you've said you don't want a levy, now you're going, well, where's the money for the sheriff? I was saying that all along. All right. It's not that I don't want money for the sheriff or juvenile justice. I don't trust the commissioners to dole it out right. And I said from the beginning, I did, and Mike said it too, if you would give the money directly to the sheriff and not take out any part of it and not get involved with it and let him decide how to spend it, then I'd probably go for that. If you got to do the cost benefit analysis, and that's
Right.
another way.
But,
we can keep two things
but
in our
that's certainly
mind
more honest.
Yes.
That's certainly more honest angle than, yeah.
So, but then what happened to the people said, no, it's all about the sheriff. It's got nothing to do with it. Well, where are you?
Yeah, right. Exactly. How come the crusade doesn't continue?
And
publicly?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
No,
that's
it dries up. It's done. That campaign is over. They're waiting for the next campaign.
Now they're campaigning for road funds because we need emergency striping. That's a little bit of exaggeration, but that has no relevance at all when an additional $1 million came in that they had not expected. They hadn't expected $1 million. How'd you like that? If you went out to your mailbox, came in, look, honey, I got $1 million check. Oh, really? I didn't expect that. They got that, and they put it in the general fund. Why didn't it go to the emergency?
Because they wanted to spend it on other stuff. That's why.
That's right.
They, and that's the thing.
There's no two ways about that. You can't argue about that. That's exactly what they did.
Yes, and it's there's no way that you can look at what local government is supposed to be and not say that public safety is supposed to be the number one priority.
That's
and
correct.
It is clear that more money is spent on public safety than any other part of county government. That's true.
Right.
However,
now the thing that goes along with that, Mike, is when the 10% is taken out, so the commissioners can go on trips and stuff and join organizations, most of the money they get from that goes into the commissioner's budget comes from law enforcement, because that's where most of the money is being spent. So the biggest part, so the reason that they can never, this group will never like the idea of stopping the 10% on an emergency basis just for the sheriff, is that's where most of their money comes from. And then how in the world are they going to be able to join So Ready and ONC counties and the chair group of the chair committee? How are they going to do that if they don't get that big amount of money?
This is a very interesting point, because isn't it odd that that Simon Hare seems like he's been gone more often than he's been home since that $1 million showed up in the general fund?
It does seem that way.
Yeah. Interesting.
They've got plenty of money.
I wonder how long it's going to take him to burn that $1 million.
We're never going to know. The reason we're never going to know comes back to a couple of things. I know we're breaking the law and I don't care. And the other one is it's going to take you a lot of money to keep track of what we're doing, Mr. Matthews. I mean, these are famous statements that they've made. And they never said, that was kind of a stupid thing to say. Or they don't even need to say. They could say, yeah, well, I deserve the right to be smarter today than I was yesterday, and I take that back. No, they're not going to say that, because they believe that what they said. It's going to cost a lot of money to keep track of what they're doing. Well, this is not transparency. This is not telling us. So what we've done the last couple of weeks is we laid out what I think are good ideas, and Mike agrees with them, about things that we could do and what order they do. And the number one thing is to tell people, look, shift happens. There's a new sheriff in town, right? There's a different way of doing things. And the whole idea, Mike, remember we were in the court and the judge, looking at the video, the judge is like way up here and all the rest of us are down here, on the floor. I mean, really, does he need to be elevated so that he has to bend his head over, not hit the ceiling? I mean, just how high does he need to be above the rest of us? Talk about lording it over us, okay? So it starts right at the beginning. I just don't accept. You don't want to spend a fortune on reshaping the building and all. The whole idea that the commissioners, who are supposed to be just servants, they're just temporary servants. We hired them just to do a service for us. So what should be happening is at the beginning of every meeting, people should come in and give their instructions to their servants. Here's what I want you to work on, fellas and lady. This is what I'd like you to do. Listen to me.
Yeah. And it's interesting that they, I think, I've discovered in the last couple of years, social media is a very powerful thing. There's a lot of crazy and goofy stuff happening in social media, but it has the capability of communicating with a lot of people with a very small amount of effort put in. We don't see any of that sort of outreach from the commissioners at all. And if you go to Keith Heck's Facebook page, it has like 10 people liking it or something like that. I mean, this guy has no presence there and there is very little interaction. Now, I'm sure you can send them email. I don't know how much of that they respond to unless you're willing to be the anonymous majority in a case where everybody shows up in Ann Basker and they're on one side and you're the people who are emailing him who have the other opinion. That's the only time we ever hear about the outreach from.
Well, Cheryl trotted them out when she was telling us. Remember how her
Yes.
The junk ordinances failed by 80%. 80%. That's unheard of. But she said, well, she had thousands and thousands of people who were thanking her on a daily basis, parading her around on their shoulders, at parades in the street, with banners flying about how wonderful she was. They just didn't feel like voting for it, I guess. She was making it up. Come on. The same people that didn't want a voters pamphlet. She was just making it all up. We have a problem with commissioners who just make stuff up.
I agree with that.
So what I had said,
it's not a very deep well.
It's bowing to a number of different people who have different opinions. The meeting should start off with an invocation and a flag salute by a citizen, a different citizen. Just this one tiny little thing. I remember talking the other day about watching the Jay Leno show in the Middle East, how they learn a lesson there just from watching the fact that nobody's smoking on this show. I like this show, but nobody smokes. Or learning a lesson from the fact that women will come and they'll treat them with respect. They're treating them with respect. These are the hidden messages. Well, one of the messages here is you start off every meeting with invocation. You get straight with the boss, and then you have the boss, one of the other bosses, stand up, picked from the audience, from regular folks, and does the flag salute. That seems like a small thing, but it sets the tone right from the beginning. Then the very next
symbolism.
It is the symbolism, right? And then the attitude, in my opinion, should be that the commissioners are there as servants. They hate that. They will never like that. I remember, I've told you before where Sandy Casanelli came in and she said, "Hey, I got some paintbrushes. We could go, touch up this paint." And Dave told her, said, "I'm a highly paid professional. I'm going to be holding a paintbrush." So if we had the attitude that they're public servants, then it should start with. The regular meeting should start with, and they should all be in the Ann Basker. None of this little backroom stuff again, never again. It should all be so that when people come up at the beginning and after each item, short little statements from the commissioners. No more time for the commissioners than for the bosses. The bosses that the meetings would be shorter, way shorter, even though you added in all these people who could comment. And you would say to them, you need to be a little tough with them. Now, look, it's not okay to talk about marijuana on every subject because not every subject's about marijuana. That's not okay. So don't do that. All right. And so what you do is you have the people come up at the beginning and they give their marching orders. They give their instructions to the commissioners. And you wait 1 week. And then you have department heads come in and give their short little 3-minute report answering the question from the bosses. And the population is the boss. I wanted to know, what are you doing about emergency striping? And so you have Rob Brandis come in and tell you in 3 minutes. If he can't explain it in 3 minutes, then put it in writing.
Right. And listen, if they were too busy, they could issue it in writing and one of the commissioners could read that into the record or whatever.
3 minutes worth of it, right? And then give you a copy, right?
Right.
No more of this. You've got to pay $30 to get the records that they handed out for free at the little back room. No more of that. It's yours.
Yeah, I think as a gesture of goodwill, they should, stop, stonewalling when it comes to giving people information. Give people the information. We all pay taxes here. We just want you to give us the information. If you just did that, for a while, maybe people wouldn't be so suspicious of you that they demand to then see everything that you generate because you're so dishonest.
We put in the request for that, and they said it would cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to just show you the emails like they're asking for from Hillary Clinton. Thousands of dollars. Right. And that they asked for from the governor and his girlfriend. Thousands of dollars, because they've been keeping private emails on there. Well, we all know what that's code for. They're discussing things which they're not supposed to do, and they can get in a lot of trouble. And of course, Wally Hicks is going to back them up because they could get in a lot of trouble. It could cost $1 million. It came very close to that with Lane County, very close to costing them $1 million. I mean, they took it down. I think it ended up being only 200,000, but that's a lot of money. Not to these guys, but it is a lot of money to me.
I'll tell you what, these commissioners should be very cautious going forward, because you never know when badcounty.com is going to get some huge lump sum endowment and have the money to pay for all that stuff. And then what are you going to do? You're going to have to fork it over. You're going to have to fork the information over.
Oh, brother. Well, then all they do is they put people at work full time to get rid of records.
Yes, right. The shredders would be running overtime.
Here's the problem, though. In order to come up with this number, this is very similar to what happened with Mark Bartholomew in the court, who had made some of the wrong arguments. But I mean, he won that court case because the judge was with him even before it started. But he said some things that weren't too smart, like, well, we could put these taxes back on anytime we want to. Oh, really? We're going to kill you with that, figuratively speaking, in the voters pamphlet, if you allow a voters pamphlet. Oh, I think we shouldn't now. But one of the things that Cheryl Walker and Wally Hicks did is they indicated exactly how many emails so they could total up what the bill would be. So if we ever did get there, like new commissioners in office, and now ask the current commissioners for that list, there better be 5,235 and a half emails.
Oh, right.
If there are not, then we're going to say, then I would say to Wally Hicks, I want you to find Cheryl Walker and fine her for stealing government property or throwing away government property, because every email there, and you've already put a dollar amount to the email.
That's right. Yeah,
so we know exactly what to charge her.
Yes, you've already put on the record that there's that many emails too.
That many, and what their cost is. So she should be sent a bill. One just for being a bitter bill, but the other one is you're stealing this. This is intellectual property, and if you think that's not serious, just talk with the RIAA, the Recording Industry Association of America. That's big time. Federal government gets involved in that kind of stuff. So you have stolen county property by throwing away emails. Okay, so that's our show for today. Thanks for joining us. Oh, where's that button? That button has to be here someplace. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yes.
As I was saying, thanks for joining us.